FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
Where the city lights don't shine, I live my life the simple way, and you know I'm doing just fine. I fish, I hunt, and I shoot my guns, and I raise a little hell. The things I do, you know I do them well. This is my America, and I'm so proud. I don't mind, I say it loud. This is my America, God bless America, the land of the free, because of the brave. This is my America.
Good evening, this is Judge Rusty Johnston, and welcome to the Armed Alabama show for the 24th of July, 2018, if you can believe it. Adam Strange has the evening off tonight, and so we will be dealing with me tonight. When the cat's away, the mice play, you know. I posted up on the Facebook board a couple of things you might be interested in looking at if you're around your computer during the break or whatever. One was an altercation, kind of a road rage altercation in Coral Gables, Florida. And I'll just leave it at that. Look at that, and we'll discuss what you think about it. Another is self-defense, the laws of self-defense around the country. I contend that our laws here are not helpful enough to the homeowner because you have to, if somebody breaks into your house, you've basically got to prove that he was going to commit violence upon you. At least you had a reasonable fear he was. Many states, if he just breaks in, it is presumed that he is going to do something. And, you know, we need to go to something like that. Ours is so complicated that, you know, including me, the average person out there, it just gets really messed up about it. And third, what we're going to talk about, plus anything you want to talk about, is ammunition storage. And if you're in front of Facebook, which we are broadcasting Facebook Live, Armed Alabama FM Talk 1065, this is what we call a battle pack, one of the methods of long-term storage of ammunition. So we're going to talk about that. And plus, there's even more that we don't have Adam here to talk. I have several silhouette targets that I have shot with a shotgun with buckshot at certain distances. And so I can show you the spread. You know, most people think, oh, all you got to do is point it in the general direction and somebody would be hit with with buckshot. Not true. You would be surprised at how small some of these patterns are. Remember, Armed Alabama is Alabama's only FM radio talk show exclusively about firearms. I also want to thank Buck Allen. Buck sings our theme song. He wrote it, sings it, lets us use it. Singer-songwriter Buck Allen, that's A-L-L-E-N. Look him up on Facebook. That's Buck Allen, A-L-L-E-N. Remember, on this show, we talk about pistols, revolvers, rifles, shotguns, ammunition, concealed carry, personal defense training, and attack on our God-given right to protect ourselves and our family. As I said, Adam is off tonight, but we'll take up the slack for him. If you have a call or a question, we'll take it in addition to what we're going to talk about, or if you have a question about what we're going to talk about. You can do that by either the old-fashioned way, calling in 251-343-0106, but you can text a question to that number too, and sometimes that's easier to answer. Just do that, and we can take care of it that way also. If you want to listen online, you don't want to be welded to the radio, you can listen several places. Armed Alabama, www.armedalabama.com radio show, or FM Talk 106.5. And that's here at the radio station, FM Talk 106.5 in Mobile, Alabama. As I pointed out, covering southwest Alabama, southeast Mississippi, and northwest Florida. It's about a 90-mile, depending on the weather, stretch around this around the transmitter, which is in Baldwin County. It's really a strong radio station, has a good conservative lineup. I want to thank our main sponsor, McCoy Outdoor Company. They've got everything from guns and ammo to ammunition to fishing stuff to running shoes. If it concerns the outdoors, they have it. Dog carriers, they even have that. McCoy Outdoors is your hometown sporting goods store, and they are located in the Spring Hill Plaza, and that's at 3498 Spring Hill Avenue. And they're open 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and 9 to 5 on Saturday at 473-1080. Or see them on Facebook at McCoy Outdoor CO. Once again, and what I'm going to show you is people are concerned when they buy ammunition. I've had people even say, I've had this ammunition 2 years. Is it still good? Well, one thing, the specs, as I understand it, the U.S. Army uses that aren't storing these, in a cool, dry place necessarily, is 10 years they sell it as surplus. That doesn't mean it's bad. It means an average of 1 round out of 1,000 has some problem, a failure to fire, whatever. And so, they have a printing press and our tax money, so they can afford to buy a lot of ammunition, and they ought to. But we can store ammunition for that rainy day or hedge against inflation literally that'll last a couple of 100 years if you have it. Now, you're not going to find a real cool, dry place here, so you got to kind of work around that. And I'll give you some tips about how to work around that that are cheap, too. And you can get in and cheap. Got some. One thing we're going to, if anybody remembers when Geraldo Rivera opened up one of the tombs in the pyramid. Remember that? He was opening up, and was there going to be gold in there? Was there going to be a snake?
Boy, they hyped that thing for 3 or 4 weeks.
Nothing there. Well, I hadn't been hyping this, but I have a Russian spam can, 640 rounds of 7.62 by 39. That's your AK ammunition. That's 22 years old.
Wait a minute, they didn't keep spam in it?
No, never did. It just looks like it.
Oh, okay.
And, of course, I thought when I've got several of these, they probably just fill it up with sand for all I know. How do we really know it's ammunition?
So, wait, you've got one.
We're going to open that up in a minute.
And you don't know what's in it?
Well, I know what they represent to be in it, and I don't take representations they make. I don't consider them our deepest, darkest enemy like the Democrats do.
Can't trust them Russians.
But I don't necessarily, trust but verify, like Reagan said. So that's how I feel about their ammunition. And I do have it's really an all AK-47s here, with few exceptions, are really AKMs. An AK-47 is a full auto, and an AKM is a semi-automatic version. We had a great opinion from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, if you can imagine, California.
The Ninth Circuit did something you agree with?
Yeah, but it's a 3-judge panel. They'll probably appeal it to the full circuit and reverse it. But the U.S. District Court judge enjoined the state from enforcing a 10-round magazine limit. And let me tell you, his language is excellent. They're going to have to reverse it when there's a way they can get to the full court, which is 25 members or whatever it is, as opposed to the panel. This is so political. I'm sure that they will get it before that panel. But it is, I'll get you the citation. I'll probably post it up on the website and the Facebook page because it is really good. And I didn't realize I need a haircut badly, and I needed to get the red color to my hair back. I did not realize So a lady asked me about a year ago, she said, how did you get the nickname Rusty? And I said, because because of the red hair, madam. She said, oh, you used to have red hair. I said, I still have red hair, I'll have you know.
Well, Judge, there's a red light shining in my face. Is that a laser beam or is that the mouse?
It's a light. It's an optical mouse.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't require a roller.
I was getting a little nervous.
Yeah, no laser beams. And if it was, we'd use a green laser.
I didn't know if I was in your crosshairs or not.
A little better. Remember our number here in Mobile is 251-343-0106 on Armed Alabama. Give us a call or give us a text, but give us something.
This program is a production of Armed Alabama, LLC. The comments and views of the hosts are those of Armed Alabama, LLC, for which it is solely responsible. The view and comments of the callers, guests, and texters do not necessarily represent the views of the sponsors or advertisers of Armed Alabama, LLC, or of Armed Alabama, LLC, Bigler Broadcasting, LLC, FM Talk 1065, or WAVH. No comments from Judge Rusty Johnston should be taken as legal advice, but as educational information. Judge Johnston is not engaged in the practice of law and should not be sought out to answer legal questions off the air. Seek legal advice from a qualified attorney who knows the complete specifics of your legal matter.
Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I'm looking for Josie Wales. That would be me. You're wanted, Wales. I reckon I'm right popular. You a bounty hunter? Yeah, he's got to do something for a living these days. Diane ain't much of a
living. That's one movie I actually own, The Outlaw Josie Wales.
It's a great
seen it so many times. I want to thank my friend and former classmate at the University of Alabama Law School, Steve Moore, with the Moore Law Firm, for being a sponsor of this show. He does exclusively personal injury litigation, and that could be, me accidentally shooting a gun in the backyard and hitting a neighbor, or it could be a car accident, med mal, truck accident, workers' comp, anything like that. You can get a hold of Steve a couple of ways. You can call him, and he's here in Mobile, 251-445-7602, or you could go to the web, which is morelawfirm-al.com, or just pick up the phone if you still have one at 251-445-7602. And I actually still have a landline. I do it because I enjoy seeing all the solicitation calls that come in. I don't think, one thing about a landline, you learn the whole family's name, because if you called a friend of yours up and his son, 11-year-old Jimmy, answered the phone, "Hey, Jimmy, how are you doing? This is Mr. Moss. Is your daddy home?" You knew everybody's name. But now, you're calling.
The telemarketers can put fake IDs up now.
I've gotten 25 that it starts off by saying Aetna, blah, 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 blah. About 20 insurance names. And
Well, here's one clue. If you pick it up and you say hello and nobody answers, then that means that's a group of people with an automatic dialer going, and just hang up.
And they're dialing from different numbers. Okay, just a little bit about ammo storage. Cool, dry place. If you have a box or two to shoot every once in a while, don't bother. But if you have it for a rainy day, bother. Now, we'll see if we can get this on
And you're showing this on Facebook right now,
Yeah, I'm showing this on Facebook, and I'm going to describe it. This is a PMC, which is the South Korean ammo company. They make decent ammo, good ammo. This is 5.56. I believe it's the 190 people that are into that kind of thing. This is probably about a 10 mil plastic. They call it a battle pack.
Yeah.
And there are individual boxes in there. It would be, 20, I think, to make 400. No, it's 200. 10 to make 200. Has a battle pack, but that is all. It's the same thing with the food sealer.
Is that a cloth or some kind of wax paper kind of thing?
It is a heavy plastic kind of vinyl.
Yeah.
And what I always do is put the date on it, 8/1/15, and it identifies what it is in there already.
It's heavy too.
Yeah, and it's 200 rounds, and it's made to be
and
carried.
It's got a handle on one end of it.
Yeah, that is really nice. Now, I dropped this sideways in the parking lot and broke my seal, but this is how
I'm so glad none of them went off.
I'll tell you why they can't.
Okay.
But this is, you can put, these are the same rounds, except another foreign company that's a good brand is the IMI Systems. That's the Israeli military ammunition. And I know they make 5.56 and the 308 Winchester. But anyway, that seals it in there. And then I put it either in an ammo can. I like the kind of the plastic boat cans because they have new O seals around them. Put them in there. Put about I thought I brought about a dozen of the detonant packs in there, and put a zip tie on so people won't keep looking, because you write on the outside what you got in there, so you won't be doing that, and try to keep the same caliber in there, and that should seriously, unless you're putting it outside or something, that ought to last 100 years.
Well, this Republic of Korea pack obviously is waterproof.
Yeah.
But I noticed also that I guess that was you that wrote 8/1/15 on it. Is that the date that you
That's the date I
purchased
bought it?
And that way you'll have a reference so you'll know how old it is.
Yeah, that's right. So
but
the reason
3 years isn't bad at all.
The reason I'm opening the spam cam here,
I wish I had a drum roll,
is because it was bought in 96.
And for everybody that's not on Facebook, that's about 4 inches thick.
It's got to be 40 pounds.
And
are you getting a shot of it?
And it's a khaki colored can.
And it's kind of like the old tuna cans or Spam that we have a tool. Fortunately, I remembered to tape it onto the side.
Wait a minute, you got a tool for opening it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, now what is supposed to be in there?
It is supposed to be 640 rounds of 7.62 by 3.9. I'm not sure.
And this is a Russian product?
It's a Russian product. Mm-hmm. When the communists were in control of Russia, you could get it really cheap, probably because of the gulags and all. They had them working for free. Now, it's not that cheap anymore. They make ammunition that a lot of people use it for everything. I wouldn't use it for anything more than either its intended firearms like a AK or an SKS, because it's a steel case and it's coated with lacquer. It's a different round, and I just kind of want the brass, or some of the PMC is bronze. It works fine.
Now, is this lid going to roll back like a sardine can would?
Well, it's going to take a little longer, so I'm going to start during a break.
Okay, but now once you open it...
But it's important to put that date on, because, I was shocked it was that long.
Once you open that, you can't close it back?
Right. We'll repackage it, because I'm anxious to see. I trust their packaging, my packaging, and this you can't see.
What if the Russians put some kind of listening device in there?
What if it's sand in there? It could be toxic gas. They were into germ warfare.
Oh, yeah.
The thing in Florida that I'll mention to get people's curiosity up is a guy with speed, as I said, is this road rage or a Yankee transplant problem. Mm-hmm. Guy was speeding down a residential street, I gather it's residential, on a motorcycle, 60, 65 miles an hour. Okay. And that in itself is very dangerous.
Sure.
Well, a neighbor kept seeing him, came out, slow down, slow down. Well, the motorcycle doesn't do anything, but his friend in a car pulls up and, uses some foul language on the homeowner, and then sticks a pistol right in his face, says, if you do that again, I'm blowing your face off, or shooting you in the face, or something like that. And it showed, I'll give everybody the trick when we get back from the break, how to stop speeders. Don't go out there and do that. Unless you're wearing a gun.
Well, there was a woman in Mobile that was killed in that same kind of situation.
You don't know who. First of all, you could get hit. But you could be dealing with somebody that, has serious mental problems and not taking their medicine. But when my kids were little, I had something kind of clever. Might not have been legal, but the statute of limitations has long since run on
So
that.
you can tell us then.
I can tell us. Remember, our number here is 251-343-0106, or on Facebook, you can watch this live, which is Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 1065, or you can go to either FM Talk 1065, listen online, or either armedalabama.com and listen online. Lots of ways to listen. Plus, we have the archives up. You can listen to this show, download it later on, absolutely free. And to me, I'd much rather be listening to a talk show type format, driving, than monotonous music. Of course, I have a sleep issue, so it's probably adrenaline counteracts the sleep issue. I've always found that. I probably won't go to sleep tonight because of this show. It just charges me up.
I have a friend who will remain nameless, drives on the interstate, playing soft classical music, and every once in a while we have to nudge him when he starts snoring behind the wheel.
I had that happen before, too. Well, actually, I was the one who fell asleep.
It really happens,
The
Barbara,
three people in the back seat, one next to me, two in the back seat, fell asleep. When we got down to Mobile, they said, "We're sure glad you drove from Montgomery. Mm-hmm. Every one of us has fallen asleep at the wheel." And I said, little did you know.
Yeah, I don't remember passing the Atmore exit.
I'm apparently a good driver while asleep. Apparently, I drove, got up, took a shower, got dressed, and drove to the office all while asleep.
Wow.
And nobody ever told me about it until sometime later. But we'll see you back right after the break, folks, at Armed Alabama.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I like you, Philip. But be assured, bite my hand, and I will put you down. Your division is in charge of native crime. Or would you rather I was in charge of native crime? I don't think you'd like my methods.
I would like his methods. That's Captain Widmark from Fringe. Now, y'all can see if the camera, is the camera getting it? I got about halfway, maybe a third of the way through the spam cam. So
I'm tired from watching you open that thing.
It's some real Russian technology.
Well, I would hate to be in the military out in the field and have to open this can of ammo.
Slitting that would be. But, this was a World War II type technology. And
I guess
worked,
it could sit in the warehouse stacked up.
Yeah. And I'm sure they were probably it was probably cold most of the time.
But you had to put some muscle into that. It looks like that old-fashioned kind of can opener that runs around the rim of the can.
I'm going to show everybody what I just did. I should have mounted it, but we talk about shotguns, not necessarily recommending them for home defense because they're long, 40 inches or so, compared to a carbine that may be 28 or a pistol 6 inches. Plus, they do not spread out. People think you can point it and they spread. And if you're on Facebook or you want to look at this later, this is a silhouette target. Now, this is at 15 feet.
Right, and it's a picture, black and white picture of a man pointing a pistol at you.
This big is the plastic wadding. It'll break through paper and have cardboard behind it. The rest of these holes are the 33 caliber buckshot.
Right.
Basically covering my hand. Now, that is at 15 feet.
It's spread about the distance of your little finger to your thumb.
Yeah. And I tell you, this was with my M2 Benelli. But the real test is this is a lower quality brand called Spartan. It's great to practice with, but it spreads more than, let's say, federal law enforcement double-lock buckshot. It wouldn't spread that much.
Yeah.
So that's 15 feet. Now think, where would you have 15 feet from the end of your gun, the muzzle of your gun, to an intruder?
I think you'd be more likely to be in the range of about 10 feet.
Yep. Now, just to do it, this is at 25, and if you've got 25, that's where I've nailed it up. This is the wadding, and the rest of these a little bigger than a hand. Now, if you're aiming and hitting him, he's got a real hurt on him.
And you got to assume that he's not going to just stand still and wait for you to shoot him.
Plus, you got let's say that Benelli, a 42-inch shotgun. You get almost 3 feet in front of you.
So are you ruling out a shotgun at all?
I'm saying unless it's the only thing you have, you can't afford something else, or you're a real expert with it, don't get a shotgun.
Yeah.
Because there's some doors a shotgun will not go through if you're holding horizontally. They make a lot of noise. You only have, if it's a hunting shotgun, maybe 4 or 5 rounds in it, taking the plug out. If it's a self-defense shotgun, maybe 7. Mm-hmm. That's just not a lot of rounds. And if you think you can just close your eyes and pull the trigger, you can't do it. And don't rely on racking the slide either. That's real popular. If somebody can show me some test that's been run, it shows that criminals will scatter when they hear that. Most criminals, they're just not thinking on the same sane level that we are, or they wouldn't be breaking into a house in the nighttime. And the criminal could just as easily hear you rack the shotgun to pump it.
And know where you are.
Know where you are. Hey, he's over there with an unloaded shotgun. I think I'll open fire. Mm-hmm. And so it's something that sounds good. It's like putting the red laser dot on somebody. If deadly force is authorized, deadly force is authorized. And don't play around with trying to scare people. If you do that, run out the back door. Because I think you're probably putting yourself in jeopardy. One of the things I talked about was we needed to change our law on self-defense in the home. Well, why is that? The reason is because for instance, Texas, Oklahoma, a number of states, they have provisions in their law that if somebody is in your home and they've gained unauthorized entry of your home, they don't have to break in, but they open a window, come in. There's a presumption in the law that they intend to do serious physical injury or death, commit serious physical injury or kill you. Our law says that, and I'll actually quote it when I can find it, that in order, I'll post this too, you have to actually show that you were, afraid to the point where you feared serious physical injury or death. Now, if the guy has a bouquet of flowers who's breaking into your house, it's kind of hard to prove that. You may be able to say it, but it's not going to be reasonable. I know where I posted it on the Facebook page. And so y'all would already have it. So go over to Facebook. But first of all, it requires the average homeowner to know things that, I wouldn't know it in the heat of the moment. If I sat down and, was completing a bar exam, maybe I would know it. But heat of the moment, it just wouldn't happen. But basically it says you have to be in imminent fear of your life in order to shoot someone that is in your home. Now, there are a couple of exceptions, and you start talking about exceptions and going to other sections of the code, that's just a trap for people. And people fall into the trap the whole time. But let's get the language because I don't.
Well, if somebody breaks into your house 4 o'clock in the morning and you're up having a cup of coffee and somebody breaks into your house.
They're not there to sell Amway.
That's right, and it's a fear element, too, that's going to set in. And if you've got a weapon handy, I think 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 people are going to attempt to use that weapon regardless.
Here's how scary. Use of force in possession of premises. You have to have control of them. And that's 13A325. Go to the Facebook page. A person in lawful possession or control of premises. You can be renting an apartment or a hotel room, whatever. And or a person who is licensed or privileged to be there may use physical force upon another person, that's striking them, that's physical force upon another person, when and to the extent that he reasonably believes it's necessary to prevent or terminate what he reasonably believes to be the commission or attempted commission of a criminal trespass by the other person in or upon such premises. A person may use deadly physical force under the circumstances set forth in subsection A of this section only, but it's really not only. You can use it in defense of a person in the premises, or if you reasonably believe it's necessary to prevent the trespasser from committing an arson, 1 or 2. That makes sense. I mean, somebody has a firebomb with them, and you think they're going to set the whole place on fire. So in order to use deadly physical force to defend a person, that's what it's referring to, you have to believe the other person, the burglar, is using or about to use unlawful deadly physical force. Well, unless he has a gun, knife, baseball bat, and he's making motions towards you, it's kind of hard to prove that. Using or about to use physical force, as physical force against the occupant of a dwelling while committing or attempting to commit a burglary of such dwelling. So, I mean, you get into that. What's physical force? I can look up the definitions.
Sounds like we need to simplify the law.
And it can be. Committing or about to commit a kidnapping in any degree, assault in any degree, burglary in any degree, robbery in any degree, forcible rape or forcible sodomy. It's just, and remember, every state that changes, but we need to adopt something like a number of states have, that they're in your house, and of course, they can't have permission to be there. They have to be strangers. There's a presumption that they are there to commit serious physical injury or death. And, it used to be burglary of an occupied dwelling during the nighttime used to be capital punishment in most states. Charlie, we got time to have, I can't see the name.
Yeah, that's Randy and Loosedale.
Yeah, let's take Randy and Loosedale. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Judge.
How are you?
I got a serious question.
All right.
I've taught my kids how to use guns and handcuffs.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody breaks in the house, say they've got a knife.
Right.
And my kids have got the gun, and they can knock them down or whatever, get the knife from them, and they cuff them.
Right.
Is that false imprisonment?
No, because they have no right to be where they are.
That'd be one way to hold them for the police.
If your kids have actually shot them, unlike Alabama, your state has medical providers have to report gunshot wounds, and they're going to find them. I just think trying to cuff somebody that may be super agitated because he's been shot. I've got cuffs, and I wouldn't want to do it. Even the zip tie type cuffs, I would, if you shoot them and you don't kill them, let them run off, and they'll eventually seek medical attention.
What if you shoot them and they can't run off?
Oh, well, you just
got to detain them.
No, you hold the gun on them.
Can you still use cuffs?
Yeah, you can make a citizen's arrest. You don't have to no words especially necessary, but yeah, you have caught them in your home committing a crime, a felony, and you can hold them till the police arrive. Or, you could do the whole thing and arrest them, put them in your car, take them to the jail, but you don't want to do all that. But no, you're fine on that.
So basically, instead of using the cuffs, especially if they shoot them,
yeah,
they need to go ahead and put like a felony takedown, put their knee on the back of their neck, and tell them, if you move, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, or just if you've hit him, just keep holding the gun on him. But, I always believe if 3 shots is good, 4 is the better. The current thinking is you reassess every time you pull that trigger. So 1, 2, 3,
right.
It's not 2, it used to be double tap. That didn't necessarily take some people down. So, I'd want them down.
I'm a bad man there because I taught my son a double tap.
Well, I did too a number of years ago, and I thought if 2's good enough for a criminal, then 4's even better for a burglar.
It's only if he feels his life's in danger, you got to eliminate the threat.
Yeah, you can break off the attack anytime. He can't. He's got to get out of there. It's just, and they get wild. I took down somebody one time I thought had a knife, and it was like holding onto a wildcat. I tell you.
Well, and I had a friend of mine who was a law enforcement officer that emptied 16 rounds into a guy that was charging at him with a knife.
And you never know. One round may do it, but, why take the chance? You don't have to take the chance.
He was high on PCP.
Yeah, you got it. Got to run to a break. Appreciate you calling in.
Almost lost his life if he didn't get another clip.
Amen.
In his gun.
Amen. You got it.
And he put one in his head, and that's what stopped him.
That's right. By the way, if you miss the head and he's not bleeding out, hit in the pelvis because their whole skeletal system will collapse. May not kill them right then, but they won't be running towards you. And that's a big area there, too. Got to run to a break, Randy. Thank you for calling. Appreciate it.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I need to kill you in 1 minute, Ned, or see you hanged in Fort Smith at Judge Parker's convenience. Which will it be?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
Judge Isaac Parker, U.S. District Judge in the Fort Smith District of Arkansas in his territory, I think he condemned nearly 200 people to death, and he was personally against the death penalty, which is kind of interesting. I hope you all know that Alabama passed a change in our capital punishment law last year. It's kind of weird, kind of interesting, but I think people ought to be hanged publicly or guillotined as a spectacle, but I realize that gives the opponents a lot of ammunition.
Yeah, but it could be a discouragement to other folks that might be wanting to commit crime.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't go look at it. You wouldn't, but a lot of people would. But for a long time, various animals have been killed by nitrogen gas, not carbon dioxide. Nitrogen gas. Nitrogen is most of the atmosphere, and when you turn on straight nitrogen, there's really no perception that you're not getting your oxygen. And when it's full nitrogen, they'll do it in a mask. A couple of sniffs, you're unconscious.
Yeah.
They've made such a big deal out of the lethal injection, which, what do? We all take our pets to the doctor and say, please be merciful, put him out of his misery. Well, when I die, I hope I die of lethal injection and not eaten up with cancer, But the left has put such pressure on the drug merchants, the state literally can't buy any of the medication anymore.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, he gasped. Right before he died. Well, what did his victim do right before he died?
That's right.
I just said some unspeakable things happen. So, but anyway, it's nitrogen. That's the same gas that people make beer with, and all kind of stuff. And it's
readily available.
Yes, all through the atmosphere. So,
by the way, we're on the third person now trying to open this spam can.
Yeah, I shouldn't have relinquished control. You need to put it on something hard.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on your lap.
You're going to cut yourself, and then we'll have. I don't know that Dr. Foster. I know he could adjust the cut hand. I don't know that he could.
Do you think the Russians sold a lot of those things?
Oh yeah. When they had the political prisoners loading ammo, I think they sold a ton of them.
Who's this young man that's wearing himself out over here?
That is my one and only son, Sidney.
Hi,
who
Sidney.
is a gun person, but he's also a wonderful computer person. And I really don't know what he does, but something. Hacking or something.
Did you cut yourself?
No, that's a cat.
If you cut yourself, you're going to have a tetanus shot.
No, that was a cat scratch.
That's right.
Another interesting thing, Charlie, I put on the board on the Facebook page, everybody ought to watch it, is Hungary has refused to accept any refugees from the Middle East the past 2 years.
Good for them.
European Commission suing them. You can't do that. We're all taking them. Well, they've got an ad by the mayor of some community all right on the border where he's showing all the, the razor wire fences, the troops, everything. And he's saying, if you come here, you're going to get thrown in jail, you can get prosecuted and then thrown out. If you're trying to get to Germany, where all the good welfare money is, your shortest route is through Serbia.
Yeah.
He has a map there where he shows it to you.
Well, I think Germany's taken in 2 million refugees.
They're out of their mind.
Which means that the German culture will disappear if it keeps up.
When I go to Baghdad, I want to go there to see people, belly dancing, people eating strange and exotic foods, maybe smoking hash. When I go to Berlin, I want beer and I want, fat German women and big old dresses.
I can't remember the name. Something Hosen.
Yeah, Lederhosen.
Lederhosen.
Yeah, and I want sausages. I don't want lamb, barbecued lamb or curried lamb when I go to Berlin, which I have no intention of going there. But we have so many unique cultures, and it's an absolute experiment. Multiculturalism and worked anywhere.
Well, the thing of it is, if you've got a culture that you've had for decades or centuries, you ought to try to preserve it.
And it's another thing to allow 5 people, 50 people to come in for a medical issue. There's not going to be a problem.
Well, the melting pot works if you hold a limit.
Right. And you know what? The Melting Pot was the name of a play, a Jewish playwright living in London, never been in the United States, wrote comedy about New York City. And he wrote it about, I think it was 1895.
Yeah.
And it's where the whole theory of the melting pot comes from. He invented that. I'm sure other people used the name, but not in connection with multiculturalism.
Well, when people talk about America as a land of immigrants, we control the immigration. And if you take in
I give you a better one.
A small number,
51% of the people here now were descendants of folks that came here before the Constitution was ratified. So technically, we're not a nation of immigrants. Those were settlers. I want to thank our good sponsors, Dr. Justin Foster. Once again, Steve Moore. If you need a personal injury lawyer, give Steve a call. Just Google it. He's got 1 million Google reviews. See him. He'll take care of all of that. And, of course, we have Mike Ward's Liberty Safe. If you need us, you ought to have a safe. He's over there on the I-65 service road at Moffett Road. I'm going to talk about security cameras next week because I'm installing some. If you don't want to get out in the hot air, crawl into your house, call Hunter Security. They're in Daphne. Just Google them. They will install them for you. And it's so hot, definitely got to call Hanson Heating and Air because I think it's medically critical if your air conditioner goes off. Got the spam cam open.
I was going to say.
Let's show it to Facebook. Yeah, get that medal. Did it?
All right, looks like boxes of something in there.
Boxes of so-called Tula Ammo. And remember to watch us on Facebook and watch us on YouTube. And if I do it like that,
will there be a recording of this
Facebook
on
person
Facebook?
Get it? We got it filmed? Okay, we have an auxiliary camera for a shorter one that made it over there. It's about a 1-minute lag because this is going through the internet, even though it's still the speed of light.
No sand, no spam.
Yeah, it is actually Tula Ammo from the Tula Amory, and I've got plenty of these.
But once you open that can, I don't think
Sidney,
you can use
that
it again.
Gun. It's unloaded as a chamber flag. The rounds look beautiful, nice and clean. They are hollow points.
How old are those?
They are 22 years old. This is, it's got the chamber flag in it. This is an AKM, a non-full automatic, a semi-automatic AK-47. That's what these go in. That's a better home defense gun than a shotgun.
Much
because
shorter.
It's much shorter.
More
You've got
rounds.
30, 40. You can have a 100-round magazine in it. So we'll see you next week on Armed Alabama. Remember to check out our social media and have a great and safe week.